Good evening. Welcome to the City of River Falls Municipal Utility Advisory Board meeting for Monday, June 19th, 2023. Lene, can I get the roll call, please?
Bartles,
Here.
Carroll,
Here.
Garrell, Lick,
Present.
Klecker,
Present.
Toom, Wells Mangold.
Moving on, looking for an approval for the minutes for the regular meeting from May 15th, 2023. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. This is the time in the meeting for public comment. Do we have anyone in the audience that would like to speak? Looks like we're going to move on. All right. Approval of the consent agenda. Acknowledgement of the meeting minutes from the West Central Wisconsin Biosolids Facilities Commission from May 18th, 2023. Looking for an approval of the consent agenda.
I'll move approval of consent agenda.
I need a second.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Moving on to new business number 3 is the election of Utility Advisory Board officers. I'm looking for a nomination for the board chair.
I make the motion to nominate Kellen.
I second.
Is there any further discussion?
You're supposed to ask 3 times.
Is there any further discussion? Oh, nominations? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Kellen is the board chair. All right. Moving on, number 3, election of Utility Advisory Board officers. Looking for a nomination for the board vice chair.
I will make a motion for Chris Lick to be vice chair.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes.
That was a great audition, Chris.
All right, moving on to item number 4, resolution for recommending awarding the 2023-2024 Manhole Rehabilitation Project. Kevin.
Yes, Chris, we have Tamara Jaworski, our engineering technician here today, who coordinates the bids and the project for the manhole rehabilitation, and she's here tonight to do a short presentation on what manhole rehabilitation is, and then here for questions as well. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Tamara, for coming tonight.
Good evening. My name's Tamara Jaworski, and as Kevin said, I'm the engineer tech and utility mapper. I map the water, the sanitary, the electric, and the fiber. And I assist the field guys with getting sanitary lining projects and manhole projects out to bid. And I decided tonight, rather than duplicate your memo in this presentation, I would show you a few examples of what the guys look for when they do inspections. That said, I do think Lene did include these screenshots in your packet. So to start out with, when they head out, they rate the manholes from 0 to 5. 0 is pristine, brand new. 5 is bad. Obviously, 3, something in between. So to get started, the first one that I thought we'd show an example of is a collapsing manhole that had been rated as a 5. This was on a project a couple years ago and has been completed, but it was a good example of the street falling in and why it was important to get that done. The second one is an example of a crumbling chimney. You can see through, where's my mouse? Let me see if I can, oops, let's back that up. I don't know if you can see. How do I get my mouse to show up on that? Oh, that screen. There we go. Okay, sorry. You can see it's crumbling here. It's crumbling here. You get water infiltration comes in through there, more crumbling, block drops in down into the manhole, and with that then you get blockage of your sewage. Here's an example, and I show this specifically because later I show you a slide where we have a cover that does not have the notches and it doesn't have an open pick hole. This is obviously when it rains, water goes right in that hole. These are a problem only in that they're a hassle for the guys. When you drop that cover back on, they've got to get that notch just in the right spot, or it catches, doesn't sit flat. So this is not a preferred casting and cover.
Quick question.
Yes.
What was the point of the notches when it was designed that way, I guess?
And you know, I don't really know that, Dean. Why? Do you have any idea?
As you twist it, it will tighten.
Oh, okay.
So if it's loose in there, it taper, so you can.
Okay, to kind of keep it from moving. Okay.
But I don't know why they ever put them there in the first place, because the new ones don't have it and they fit tight. So good question, but you know, sort of like he says, you keep notching it over to get it tighter or looser, but they're a hassle to work with. I think these covers also are heavier, aren't they, Dean, this style? Okay.
To me, anyway.
This just shows an example of a big hole here around the casting where water's going to get in. And then this is showing how the casting here and the rings are offset from the manhole. Not a real big deal, the one or two, but weight on that in time starts to break this apart, so it's not the best in terms of support for the road. Maybe in time would lead to that manhole that I showed you earlier on. This is in the memo and in this shot because I got to tell you, this is some awesome brickwork 180 years ago. Someone being down there and laying that. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, at the same time, and this is one that's on our list. It's on, I believe, Elm Street, one of the side streets there. We are going to rehab this one. But it's crumbling here, it's crumbling here. Again, infiltration in between the brick. Then that drops into the manhole, blocks sewage flow. This is a little bit hard to see, but there's a corner out here, and this is one of the ones we're doing also. There's a piece that is either totally out, and you couldn't tell. We don't know if this is going right down to the ground, or just part of the bench that's coming off. But it creates a problem because as the sewage swings around here, stuff fills up on the bench. And obviously, if there's nothing there and that's actual dirt ground, well, we don't want sewage seeping into the ground. So this is one that has a poor bottom in which the bottom of the trough will be repaired. And that is on the list, this 2-year list we've got. This is also a manhole that's on our project for this 2-year. And this is the one we were discussing before the meeting. This is a precast manhole, but roots have started to come in between the seams of the two. And so we're going to ask, one of the things on this manhole that we're going to do is grout it. A better option might be a full pour of this, but this was a deep manhole and a full pour would be very expensive. I believe, I can't remember exactly, but I think this is going to have some bottom work done too. But this will only proceed to get worse. Water comes in. Eventually those roots break apart more and more of the precast manhole. This is a different one, but it is one we're doing, and this is a sewer lateral coming in, and you can see all the roots here. So this one is getting a full pour. It is a more shallow. I suspect that they will probably cut that lateral back a bit. I don't know when they do a full pour whether they'll even need to grout those roots, because they're going to pour and that'll be just a fresh new manhole. But that's the lateral, not the sewer main. I showed this because this is one that would be rated as a 0. It's a brand new precast. There again, as we were discussing earlier, the new manholes, they put steps in. I'm not sure why, because when they rehab them, they rip them out. But you can see this is all nicely lined up. It's got a nice bottom. It's got a nice trough. So that was just an example to show you of what a good, clean manhole looks like. This is one that was up on Highview 6 in our community. This was here to show you an example of our rings. A few years ago, and I don't know if Reed was still here or if it was when Crystal, we switched to what we call Cretex rings. They're EPP foam, extruded polypropylene foam rather than the cement rings, so they aren't subject to so much water and breakdown and deterioration. And then this is just showing you how nicely, this is the manhole, these are the rings, this is the casting and how nicely they're lined up. Nothing's offset. So that was just an example of a nice, clean, the new rings that we have gone to.
With a nice 14-karat gold on the top there, looks like.
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it? This doesn't show it real well, but as you notice, this is one of the covers without any of that notching. The casting here, there's no notching. It's a little bit hard to see here, but that is not an open pickle. It's got a closed pickle where the guys can still grab the cover, but it's not open so that sewage does not run in. So when the guys go out and evaluate all these, they give me the data and say, this manhole's a 5, this is a 4, this is a 3, this is a whatever. And I print the map and say, okay, show me the map of all the 4s and all the 5s. And this was just an example. It's kind of small up here. And then I go out with the field guys and we re-pull all these 4s and 5s. And we look to see, okay, does this 5 need a full pour, a bottom, a chimney pour? What specifically do we want done on them? So the mapping system pulls out and says, I tell it, show me what's a 4, show me what's a 5. From that, this is an example of the manholes that we are doing. There are 32 of them this year, for this 2-year project. I intentionally, for 2023, had a fewer number, because if I was in front of you in February and was going to council in February and getting everything signed and out by March, it gives the contractors all of March through the end of November to get some stuff done. But we got this going a little late, and I wanted to be fair to the contractors in order to give them more time to get this year's done, and then also still manage to get the ones we're doing next year. They have more time then. They can start in, if the weather's good, March, or whatever works with their schedule. So it was intentional this year that it not be even, because I wanted to give them a better chance to, and hoping we'd get a better bid also. The bids went out on June 14th, which was last Wednesday, and the low bidder was HydroClean. We've used them in the past. As a matter of fact, since I've been here in 16 years, they're the only ones that have done any work for us. Only twice since I've been here has there even been a second bidder. It's a labor-intensive procedure, and I think that's why there aren't a lot of contractors out there doing it. So that dollar amount is for the 2-year bid. And as you obviously see, this year's was smaller because fewer numbers. This information I get from Kevin and or Dean. They tell me what budgets they want it to come out of. And they decided that it should come out of the system repair and the system replacement. And they decided the percentages, and that's where that came from. And so unless you have any other questions, we're hoping that you'll approve that 2-year budget. And we'll go forward with it. So any questions for Dean, or?
That's for all 32?
Pardon me?
That's for all 32, the 157,000?
That 157 is for, yes,
Okay.
the full 32 of them.
Yep.
And I can back up, so I can back up here for a sec, if I can get this backed up. Yeah. If you look here, if something would happen and they'd only do that one, the first year is 58,002, then it's 99 for the second year, coming to the whole 2-year of 157.
I did have one question for you, and if you don't know the answer, I won't hold it against you.
Okay.
I noticed that the 2023 pricing was like $4,800 a hole. The 2024 pricing is about $100 more per manhole. I'm just curious what the difference was.
If I didn't include in your packet, and I could have, because what the guys see when they bid is they see a sheet with let me back up a couple sheets here. They see that cover sheet right here, and it says page 1, and they go to page 1 and they see what we want done on these manholes, and it goes to page 2 and they see what we want done. As it happens then, not everything is getting a full pour, not everything's, some are getting a bottom. So if I had given you all the sheets that they get, you'd see that each manhole has different stuff that's being done to it, and they bid by manhole, by manhole, so it would.
So it is
Yeah.
not a straight 4800
Correct,
per manhole
correct,
per
it's not.
hole.
Here's 32 of them, let's divide them by 32, it ought to be, why are these not even? That second year, or the first year, there might have been only 2 full pours in the bottom, and the rest were chimney pours. Or the next year, it might have been full pour, full pour, full pour, bottom, 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 you know, kind of thing. Like that little dance I put in there for you, but.
And Chris, there might be some organizations that are less frugal and have less attention to detail than ours, but Tamara is really good. And she will look at each of these individually, and we're only gonna do what is needed individually, and that's why you get the individual pricing, so.
And with
We just
that,
don't say, go ahead and do them all the same, and she said, nope, this one only needs this, and this one needs that, and so.
with that, HydroClean's very experienced in this, and when we have the pre-construction meeting, they have oftentimes sat down with us and said, hey, your manhole 62, you will only ask for a chimney pour. I think it's prudent if you do a full pour on that one, and we'll discuss it. There's others, and Dean and I discussed these. These 3 manholes on South Main, the top is bad. So we looked at it and thought, geez, should we just do the chimney pour on the bottom? And then we got to thinking, but you know, we don't know when South Main's gonna be redone. They've talked about it for a long time. We don't wanna obstruct traffic in 3 years doing this all over again. Let's just full pour the works and call it good for 50 years. So sometimes, and I suspect that HydroClean will say to us, why are you full pouring this one? It's only the top X number of feet that, but that's again, one of those, it's Main Street, a lot of traffic. We don't wanna close this down in 2 more years because now the bottom half is going to a 5.
Did you say 50 years?
That's
For
what
a
they
full pour?
That's what they keep. That's what they claim.
Yeah,
that it
okay.
has a 50-year life. You know,
And the bricks have been there for over 100. So.
yeah, some of those. Yeah, that was that nicely, pretty
Oh.
done. You almost hate to fix it because it's just the individual handwork that must have went into it is amazing. But any other questions? So with that, I guess I'll close out and thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Looking for a motion to approve the resolution?
By motion.
Second.
Is there any further discussion on the motion on? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes.
I want to say thanks to Tamara too. Great job, Tamara.
Thank you. Thanks. Moving on to new business number 5 regarding the resolution of the review of wastewater treatment plan 2022 compliance maintenance annual report.
Yeah, Dean Seamuth is here, our water wastewater superintendent. Is going to give a brief presentation on some good news. We had a really good grade this year on our CMAR. As he walks up, I'll let you know we have done some enhancements to our plant over the last 4 or 5 years. Probably 4 or 5 years ago, we were getting D's in some of the categories, and since we made our enhancements, we're back to a 4.0, and I won't steal any more of your thunder, Dean. Take it away.
Well, that's fine. You can steal my thunder all you want. So, what I'm going to talk about today is our actual limits and where we sit with them. As Kevin said, we are a 4.0. We haven't had any exceedances in wastewater this past year. And going forward, it looks the same. So if you look, these are on page 34 in your packet, or you can just look on screen. You look at our BOD loading for our influent. We are at, our BOD milligrams per liter is 224. Average is, I don't have the average, but you can see they're all about the same. Our pounds per day are between 25, 24, 27. And our design for the plant is 38, 98 pounds per day. So we're well below our pounds per day of BOD, which is encouraging as we are going to have a lot of growth in our city in the next few years. So I do expect that possibly could go up a little bit when we do our next permit because of our new aeration They guesstimated a little bit to 1.98 or to 38.98 2 years ago when we did the project. And I believe when they go through our actual loading, they might give us a little higher. Because if you look at our effluent, which is on page 37, or right here, we are well below our 30 milligrams per liter per day average monthly limit, and we are 5 or 6, a couple 7s, but we average about 5. So we are way below. So our effluent is very, very clean with very little BOD. So when we do our limit, we're going to try and get our BOD limit a little higher as our pounds per day for influent due to our expected growth. But we're in no immediate danger of going over that. So the effluent looks really good. Alrighty, page 39 is our TSS, total suspended solids in our effluent. Again, we get a 30 milligrams per liter per day average. We are averaging around 4 of our effluent. Again, that's an A. It's very good. It's encouraging us with our growth. Our wastewater treatment facility is very predictable. We do not change. We're very stable. We're, knock on wood, we run pretty smooth. And it's a testament to the city and their willingness to upgrade. Then we will go to our phosphorus. Ammonia is next, pardon me. Page 40 in your pamphlet. Again, you'll see we're well below our limits. It fluctuates a bit with mainly heat. The heat affects our ammonia in our oxidation ditch, as well as the load, whatever comes in. A lot of this is affected, in all honesty, on the centrate we receive from West Central Biosolids, which hopefully, when we get our dryer going, we won't have all that centrate from them. We'll have our own. You see a spike in September. This one had us scratching our head, Bill and I, for several days. And it was by a happenstance that one of the guys, I can't remember which one was an operator, was out there looking. We had had our mixer motor rebuilt. So electric pumps rebuilt the motor. They came and installed it. When they installed it, they set it for 20 RPMs. It's supposed to run at 60 RPMs. So we were having a settling issue that we didn't even know until one guy looked at the thing and he was like, why is this only at 20 RPMs? And so we adjusted it, got our numbers. That's why the rest of the year was a little bit higher, because we were catching up for, otherwise the 0.1, 0.2, pretty much what it normally is. We are anticipating, pardon me, that's phosphorus. So when we get to our phosphorus removal, again, our maximum limit is 1.0 milligrams per liter, and that's a monthly average. So we do we measure it every day, we sample every day, and we, at the end of the month, we do a monthly average, 0.16, 0.2, again, 0.3 was warmer months is what affects the phosphorus a little bit as well. So as you can see, we're well below our 1.0. We do anticipate with our next permit, the way the DNR is moving right now, that's our 1.0 limit will be lowered. We're guessing a 0.5 possibly, which we still have no trouble meeting. In the year 2022, we didn't use any chemical. In the past, in the warmer months, sometimes we'll get a little higher phosphorus, so we have to add aluminum sulfide. So we don't want to, because one, it's expensive, and we're proud of the fact that it's zero chemicals in this process. So if our limit was to get lowered to 0.5 and we ever had an issue with it, we could add the aluminum sulfide. again, every one of these numbers that you're looking at is basically affected by centrate. It's something we can't control, and we're getting a lot of centrate from whoever, wherever. So we're hoping that once, our numbers are great, but we could be better if we didn't get this centrate.
Yeah, in 2 years, we'll be not taking centrate.
0, yeah.
So when we have our own dryer working.
And we just did, every week we test we test the samples of the centrate from Biosolids. And the last 2 we have been extremely high. And phosphorus coming in, we treat it, we get it out, but it affects our bottom line as far as our numbers. We get a hold of West Central and say, what's going on? Your phosphorus is high, and they jack up their ferric acid, I believe is what they had.
And this was discussed last week at the West Central Biosolids executive team meeting there, and trying to figure out the source of that phosphorus, and nobody really knew. Some community is delivering that, and no one is saying it's them. They don't know. So, and then we end up getting it in the centrate.
And we also do a weekly phosphorus test on our influent, that is our own influent, to make sure our phosphorus isn't rising up, and we stay steady. It's about 29, somewhere in there. That's our influent phosphorus, right around 29 milligrams per liter. So we do remove quite a bit, and but we don't want any more than we have to. And then I just was going to show you our grade points. 4.0 is what I like to see, which puts us in a voluntary range to do any updates. We don't have to do anything. Down the line, I'm hoping to be standing in front of you talking about installing a UV disinfection. That would be probably our next upgrade after the dryer. That one is kind of a safety and a convenient. It's not going to save a ton of money, but it will be safety, and we wouldn't have chlorine gas that we have now, and it's pretty, I mean, it's, the water flows through it and it disinfects it. You don't have to purchase chlorine, you have to regulate it, you don't have to do anything. And that's about it. 4.0, just like my school grades. So, any questions? Concerns? No, not one question.
Would you like to go for ice cream to celebrate?
Not ice cream.
Dean and I were discussing this afternoon in our meeting, and we were talking about, the grades was a D for a while. And I said, not since I've been here.
This is all the work of Ron Groth, though. He got this. This is mainly with the oxidation ditch is what caused all these good numbers. So it is not my doing. But
You can take credit for it, though, Coach.
Exactly. Looking for, come on up.
I'm supposed to request that you approve me going to city council with
Sure.
this and having them approve it.
There you go. That's official.
All right. Looking for an approval for the resolution.
So moved.
I second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Moving on to one more here. Kevin,
Yeah, financial report.
let's do some reports.
Let's do a financial report. Josh Sullinger, our finance director, is not here tonight, so I will give a brief report. But these meetings are fun when you have all kinds of good news like this. I mean, Dean's got a 4.0. We've got everything in the black financially. It makes it a lot easier. So real quickly, page 65, electric. Our total revenue so far this year is $6,407,294. Our expenses are $5,693,903. We're plus $713,000 as compared to last year. We were $345,000 at this time, so we're ahead of the game from last year. That's good news. Water, we're into water season, I'm gonna call it. Our revenues are 914, expenditures 864. We're plus 50, and at this time last year, we were minus 40, so almost $100,000 differential from this year to last year. And I was telling some people this morning in our staff meeting, with this week being 90 every day, hot and sunny, the meters are running this week for our utilities, electric and water and wastewater. So that's good news for that. And then wastewater, revenues 1.7 million, over expenditures of 1.04 million, and we're plus 670,000 there for wastewater as compared to 338 from last year. So again, all positive numbers, and those numbers are going to get better for water, wastewater, and electric next month, as again, we'll probably be setting close to some peak records for our electric and water usage, I would guess, here in the next week or so. So that's the financial report. Things are good. Of course, there might be some bigger expenditures coming up for some of these utilities. I know electric has some large cable poles and things going on, so those numbers will get a little closer as we get to the end of the year, but we're sitting good right now. And that's the financial report, Chris. I just have just a couple things maybe I'd like to highlight. Green energy blocks are over 16% now. It's 16.1%. Hydrant flushing is done. We finished that last week. The water tower, the crews pulled out of there, and the water tower welding and construction has been complete. Painting will commence, I think, later this week. You may not see that right away, as they're going to paint the interior first and then go to the exterior. Maybe by October they'll have the logo on, is what we're hoping. So, but that is coming to a close, and pretty remarkable what that pretty small crew does to build that water tower with its welding equipment and cranes and harnesses. Pretty specialized crew, but that tower is up if you haven't seen that. We did lose one of our water wastewater technicians. Jake McNabb took a different job with the St. Croix County, I believe. And we have a new hire, and we'll announce that next month. Dean was on the phone with that person this afternoon, so we've already replaced that person. So that is happening. I want to welcome Dean Bartles, his first meeting today. And I think those are the highlights. Oh, I know what else I was going to say. I talked to customer service this morning, and for the first time in a long time, even though it's June, it's hot, 0 shutoffs this month for electric utilities. Not often we get to 0. So, and there was, I think, around 20 payment arrangements made that are always hanging in the balance if they don't fulfill the payment arrangement. But as of this morning, there were 0 scheduled shutoffs for utilities, which I'm proud of for the hard work they do up front. That's what I have for dashboards and announcements, Chris.
Perfect. I did have a question on the water tower.
Mm-hmm.
When will that be commissioned and go into service?
Next year, when the North Loop is done. So when the North Loop is completed, then we'll start getting water through that tower that'll feed Sterling Ponds and go into the road. So it'll be, the tower itself should be, it probably could hold water now. Just the painting part has to happen. Well, you probably want to paint the inside first, and then you can do the water. But it could probably hold water by mid-September and function as a water tower. Probably won't be in full commission until the North Loop project is completed.
Will we be renting any space to cellular companies for cell phone service?
I did put the word out to all the cell companies, let them know, and they said they put it into their put it to engineering and their locations and where they need stuff. So I think I got one hard no and then no response backs on the other one. I reached out a couple times as well, offering that space as available. So, but they're going to put them where they need them. But it's available, so if you have something you want to put up there, about $20,000 a month.
Moving on to announcements. Does anybody have anything to add? Looking for a motion to adjourn. A motion.
Second.
Meeting is adjourned.
Right on, it's by the bell.
Was that the, I don't know, the hook to pull me?
Up there?
No, this thing. No.
There's a timer up there, I think, that is for public comment.